welcome to the latest episode of the Claus Corner. Today's guest is a member of the high energy and extremely talented band Clozure. The band formed in 2012 and had much success, but in 2023 they experienced some dynamic lineup changes which brought the band to a whole new level. Working with the great arranger, writer, engineer, mixer, and Grammy Award-winning producer Malcolm Springer, they recorded 4 new singles, including The Devil Effect and Nevermore. Their latest single, Criminal Mind, which is another great song, was released last month. 2024 saw them being signed up to Wake Up Music, followed by Full Circle Media picking up the band. Having already done 3 tours with this new lineup with bands such as Fozzy, Powerhouse 5000, Tantric, Sponge, Nocturnal Affair, and their mantra being, let's rock this shit. I see many more great things happening for Clozure in the future. So here to talk about all of this and much, much more is rhythm guitar player Matthew Russell. Matthew,
That's all right.
Welcome to the show. So we're going to have a great time on the show. I really do appreciate you being
That's
on the
right.
show. And I also want to thank Shauna O'Donnell for introducing me to the band, because I love the band, had so much fun doing the research on it, and I'm looking forward to talking all about like past, present, and future.
Sure.
All right, so as I mentioned, you're the rhythm guitar player, Matthew Russell, and the original band was formed in 2012. Were you a part of that band?
No, I've been a part of Clozure for probably 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
So, but when I joined, Clozure was mainly just a cover band and wanted to venture out and write original music. So once I came on board, I've always been an original music type of guy. So I jumped on board with that because most bands around here wanted to just play cover music,
Yeah.
but I wanted to write original. So that was the beginning of the changes. I would say I came on board, and then Mike McCann, the drummer, came on board next after that, probably in about 6 months to a year after I joined, because we had lost our drummer probably a couple of months after I joined. But I really enjoyed playing music with Cordell, and so we just kind of stuck it out until we found a drummer.
All right. What kind of covers did you play back then when you were in the band?
Anything from 3 Days Grace. I'm trying to think of who else we might have covered. Highly Suspect.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of Southern rock, but anything from Godsmack, a little bit of Creed, a few, just to name a few.
Yeah. Well, I'm 56 years old. When I used to be in bands in my 20s, and I live in Connecticut. Back in Connecticut, back in time, there was so many great clubs for original music, and then that slowly dwindled away, and mostly now, in this area anyway, they have these bars that just want people to hear songs that they're familiar with so they can buy drinks and just have a good time. Did you find that you have that same situation where the bar owners are like, well, I'd rather hear cover songs because people like to know, they like to hear what they're familiar with?
Sure. When I originally first started playing music, I was from Gainesville, Florida. So a lot of original music was wanting to be played, and I came to Alabama because my grandmother had cancer, and I took care of her till she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started playing music in Alabama, it was mainly cover music, which I
Yeah.
was really surprised by, and especially them wanting you to play for 3 or 4 hours. Um, so I think what we kind of ran into at first was like, we wanted to do some original music, but like you said, you want to play something familiar that everybody knows. So we would sprinkle in original music with a bunch of covers.
Yeah.
So
You're always going to have that guy at the back of the bar, Freebird! You can never, there's always
yeah,
one guy that's got to
every
scream that.
time.
I know. Well, I mentioned in the intro, we were talking about you've been in the band a couple of years, and last year there was a huge change. Who does the band consist of now?
Okay, the singer is Nikolai
Mm-hmm.
from Orlando, Florida, and Zach Taylor is from Kentucky, and he's our bassist.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the 2 newest in the group, and they probably joined about not even a month apart.
Wow.
So it was me and both Mikes, Mike Cordell and Mike McCann, and we wanted to see what was out there. And luckily, we were able to pick up Nikolai and Zach. We met Zach on a previous tour. So when we started looking for bassists, he just tried out, and we really got along with the guy. We had a lot of great people try out, and but Zach was the winner on that one.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of military guys in our band, and Zach was military, so he was kind of used to dealing with first sergeants because Cordell's a retired first sergeant.
Oh, wow.
So we thought it would be a little bit easier to bring somebody on board that had kind of has that structure
Yeah.
of getting things done, in a timely manner and everything like that. So, but Nicola, it's just been a godsend for us. She is such a blessing. She's very kind and can just sing phenomenal. And the reason she's not on there tonight is she is in Miami for the next 3 days, locking herself away to write music because we are going to go back in the studio in January with Malcolm Springer and record another 5 songs. So she is busy right now as she can be, getting all that music together.
Well, that's a great segue. Let's talk about your writing and recording process. Nikolai, as we mentioned, is a new singer. She's a female. First, I want to talk about what decision was to go the female route. Who made that decision? Was it a band decision, and was there anybody that was against it originally?
It was a band decision, and I know Mike McCann was against it,
Yeah.
the drummer, and no, the rest of us kind of straddled the fence, and we were like, I've never thought about being a female fronted band. I'd never been in a female fronted band, and then that changes things as far as touring and being able for her to have her privacy and being able to change into all her wardrobes and stuff like that. Like we
Yeah.
looked at a whole different, it's just a different world when you introduce a female into it. But we couldn't be happier, you know. And I think it was just really more of a shock to us because it just kind of fell in place. But I think when you have the right people, whether they're male or female, when you have the right people playing together with the right attitude, it's as far as you want to take it.
Yeah.
So,
And from what I've seen of the songs that you've released so far, you've definitely made the right decision. She is a perfect fit for that band. I love the songs. And perfect example would be Wendy Williams. I love her as a front woman. She is great. And I think Doro, she's another one. There's so many, I mean, then Lita Ford, obviously she's a guitar player and singer. So there's a lot of great female singers, and she is a great front woman. And I know I heard about the drummer being against it at first, but I'm sure by now he's definitely changed his tune with that one.
oh yeah, oh yeah, we're all on board. We all love each other. We're like a big family, So we're just very excited, and just with the songs that have came out, just to have such great exposure and great feedback, and being able to go on the three tours, and we've met so many great people that have just been closure crew, as we call them, and I still talk to them even when we're not on tour. When I have time to reach out to some of the people we've met and things like that. So when we head back all the way from Alabama up to Michigan, it's like a family reunion now. So
Yeah. Well, you were mentioning that she's in Miami writing songs. What is the writing process? Does she write the lyrics and the band comes up with the music, or does she help with the music as well?
usually we start off with guitar riffs.
Hmm.
Me and Mike will put most of the work in and try to get a little bit of structure, and we'll send it over to McCann and Zach and see what they think about it. If they like it, they'll go ahead and place their pieces together, and we'll record. Uh, I have a little recording studio here at my house,
Hmm.
and we record everything to a click track and kind of get it halfway mixed where it sounds halfway decent. And then we go ahead and send it over to Nicola, and she begins the process of writing the lyrics. And she will tell us to either, shorten this or lengthen this, or, uh, she'll come up with the ways that she needs to flow in and out of the music. Every once in a while, though, it will take a different turn, and she may come up with lyrics first, and then we
Yep.
have to really be puzzled and be like, okay, so now we got to figure out our part. So, but mainly, I would believe that we try to lay down the backbone of everything first before we send it to her. It just makes the process a little bit easier to us.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions I have for you is because as I mentioned years ago, I was in bands, and what I loved was all the whole band getting together and just jamming out, and then we'd come up, the guitar player come up with a riff, I'd come up with some lyrics, and vice versa, and we would just all collaborate. Is it a little bit? I mean, I know it's different now because you all live in different areas, so you're recording something, sending it to the other person. Do you find that it's harder to come up with the inspiration doing it alone, or do you miss that collaboration of all being together in one room, just making it all up?
I do miss the collaboration of being together in one room.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like, getting into that musical feeling with everybody and you just get into that rush
Hmm.
and everybody's got so many ideas at one time. You're always having to like just scratch them down on paper, so you're able to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So when we do our songs, we kind of like, I would say probably 70-80% before we get together and practice before we go into a studio or before we go out on the tour, because we try to leave that room in there for the emotional context of not just writing music.
Hmm.
To be able to be together, form it together. Kind of like you said, like having that energy of being in the same room.
Yeah.
You know, because if not, it's just kind of a process of the metronome and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Well,
but
no, what I
go
wanted to
ahead.
say was, sorry to interrupt you. Do you have anything more to say about that? I don't want to interrupt
Oh
you.
no, no,
Okay.
you're good.
What I wanted to say was, you mentioned that you met Zach on another tour. Was he in a band that was opening up for your band at the time?
Yes, he was playing in a little country duo band.
Oh, really? A
So, yeah,
little bit of a
I mean,
departure for him now?
yeah. But Zach's a man of like many skills. Like he plays a lot of different instruments. He listens to. I would say he's probably the most diverse in listening to music.
Mm,
Because he'll listen to anything, the country, rap, rock, metal.
that's
Like,
me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
all kinds of people used to, they're not anymore because people know my taste, but I can go from Mozart to Slayer to Barry Manilow all within like 10 minutes. And listen, like I'll be playing music in my car and it'll just be my playlist. And they're like, what are you listening to? Because it just goes from to Beethoven to ABBA to King Diamond. So I
That's
love
right.
that. And I think it actually helps because, I mean, I'll give you an example. When I was in metal bands, the other players in my band were very close-minded, and they didn't only, it was either Metallica or Slayer, and it's like there's a lot more music that's
Yeah.
out there than just those two bands. And if you open up your mind, you're gonna, I think, be more creative because you're gonna be able to take inspiration from different types of music. And I love the fact that you guys are
Mhm.
like that. You go from country, rap, rock, inspiration-wise, or that you
Sure,
listen
sure.
to.
Because there's so much to learn from, and
Yeah.
also being able to pick up on the different cultures and everything like that. That's what I loved about music. Is going somewhere like going to Louisiana and having a different kind of culture. Of the Cajun people and the way they cook and the way their music is. Or going overseas. And you see a lot of people study like the different types of music, like Danny Carey from Tool,
Yep.
going over to Africa, to learn all the different kind of like rhythmic beats and everything that they do over there. So it's really neat how all that kind of ties in.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So Zach, you met when you was in another band. Where'd you meet Nikolai?
Nikolai was brought up to us from our manager,
Okay.
and McCann was the first one to watch her videos, and he wasn't on board with a female singer, so he was like, I want to send you guys a video and y'all see what y'all think. And I didn't even watch it because I said, you know what? I want to hear what she sounds like now. So just
Hmm.
book her and tell her to come up. And
Hmm.
I know that had to be strange for her because she flew up to Alabama meeting, you know, it was just me and Cordell, just meeting two guys that,
Yeah.
she's never met before. But she flew up, and the first thing we wrote that day was The Devil Effect.
That's impressive. You
So,
wrote it the first day the band. Well, actually, let's talk about that because I know McCann was in India at the time.
yes.
So he was in India. The rest of the band got together for the first time. In that one session, you wrote that great. I love that song, "The Devil Effect," which is actually where I wanted to talk about that because that became an audience favorite. That's the one that everybody sings to when you're live. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So how did that happen? Like you just got together, you introduced yourself, and you just started jamming, and all of a sudden it just all came together. The chemistry was there.
Yeah, yeah, the chemistry was there, and it's like me and Cordell had the guitar riffs kind of worked out, and he used to call it the Lucifer effect. And we tamed the name down for the
Yeah.
sake of people in radio play. But a Lucifer effect. If you read the book, it's kind of like a guy goes in there, and no matter what he does right, they're always going to consider him wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a very big mental barrier. So I think that some of the things that Nikolai went through with her past and came in there and listened to the story of why Cordell wrote it, like she just automatically was like, I understand like where you're coming from, and just jumped right on board, and just she started humming stuff out, and a little bit of lyrics here, a little bit of lyrics there, and we had a kind of like a rough draft, and she was like, well, I'm going to go home and think about it, and McCann listened to some of the video that I recorded that I sent him when he was in India, and he called her and he said, "Are you in or are you out? Because I need to know."
So it didn't
So
really take him that long for him to change his mind. I like to hear that.
that's
That's good.
that's right.
So what is the devil effect about?
The double effect. It was like I said. It's kind of like when you're doing everything that you can that's right, but no
Mhm.
matter what it is, like someone else is going to consider you doing wrong just to better
Oh,
themselves.
so the Lucifer effect. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I love that. And I still, you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that. You can keep that term, the Lucifer effect. I think that's a perfect way to put it.
Right, right.
If you have to change it to Beelzebub. I like that
There
one
you
too.
go. That's right.
Another thing I like about that, I mean, I love the song, but I love the video. And I know Thomas Crane directed at least that video and most of your other videos, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Does he come up with the concept or is it a full collaboration with the band?
The band comes up with the concept.
Okay.
So we already have shot another music video with
Ah,
Thomas Crane, and it's for a song that hasn't been released yet called "Walk in the Sun" that'll be out next year. But like I said, we're going to record it in January, so I'm sure we're going to be giving him a call soon, and we'll get back in it. But what we usually do is we have a concept, and Thomas is such a great guy, easy to work with,
hmm.
very artistic. He's really good at what he does. And when we shot, Nevermore, we were just shooting in Warehouse 231 in Montgomery, Alabama, and they had some mannequins laying around and stuff like that, and he's like, hey, let's just put these over here, like let's do this or do that. And we're like, all right, but so we kind of got like a core concept of what we want to do, and then he just sprinkles a little bit of stuff in there.
No, it's good. It's good to have somebody like that. Where they're not dictatorial. Where they're like, yeah, just use your expression. It's your band, and you have the concept. Let's go with that. So I like that. That he works with you instead of saying we're gonna
Yeah,
do it this way. I'm the professional because I've known bands that have told me that where basically they're
yeah,
like, we're gonna do it like this. Really don't care. This is my concept, and so I love the fact that you work with so many great, talented, but also very open-minded and very collaborative people, which makes it
that's right.
so much better. I want to talk about how Nikolai going to NAM, not Vietnam, the National Association of Music Merchants. Just want to clear that up.
That's right.
Led to you recording the Evanescence song "Bring Me to Life."
Yeah, she got to fly out to the NAM show, and I was jealous because I've never went,
Yeah.
and I want to go so bad. So I know that she got to meet. I know McCann's sponsored by Scorpion Percussion and stuff like that, and she got to meet a lot of nice people and got to go to the Sector Schecter after party. So
Ah,
Schecter, if you're listening, we would like to get picked up and make some guitars. So, um, but the collab with Bring Me to Life is she knew Josh previously from Magnolia Park. So we had always toyed around with the idea of, hey, you got a really strong voice, you kind of sound like Amy Lee in some sense,
hmm.
you know, and her and Josh talked about it and said, hey, why don't we just do Bring Me to Life? And well, unfortunately, McCann was back in India by this time, because we only have a certain amount we can tour or a certain amount we can we can, you know, go and record or shoot music and stuff like that. So her and Josh got together and shot the video. Josh shot the video from Magnolia Park, and you know, he done all the editing and stuff like that. So that's the reason the whole rest of the band wasn't in the videos, because we had already been dispersed around the world by that point.
Does McCann live in India?
He works for Boeing Helicopter.
Ah, okay.
So he is a contractor, and he gets sent over there for a certain amount of time. And whenever that contract's up, he may have to go somewhere else.
Right. Well, that's what another question I wanted to ask you was this: is this band a full-time thing? Because obviously it seems like a very full-time gig, but do you also have other jobs on the side as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, we are all working right now.
Yeah.
So, but working toward the dream, you know. So
Yeah.
we've had big steps since we have switched members, and as you can tell by the music, by the camaraderie,
Yeah.
looking at the videos, being on the tours, getting signed by Wake Up,
Hmm.
you know, it's just we have been blessed with being able to surround ourselves by the people that we need in our corner now.
Well, it seems like you have very cool jobs that let you take some time off when when you need to go on tour, or record an album, or do a video. So that's very good that you work with for some great people that give you that
That's
freedom where
right.
you could do this.
That's right, because that's hard to find.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
So luckily, I work at a trade. I'm an electrician,
Oh, really?
so I can take off anytime I need to do whatever I need to, and come back and get started back on it. And hopefully, within 2025, we will be going full time music.
All
So
right. I I have zero doubt that that will be the case. You guys will be going full time because you guys, as it says, your mantra, let's rock this shit, and that's what you've been doing,
that's right.
and you're gonna go even harder in 2025. I'm looking forward to much success and seeing what's gonna happen with you guys. And I wanted to say, getting back to that cover song, I love the fact that Evanescence song because you paid respect to the original, but also made it your own, which was a great
Sure.
thing. It's very hard to do for some bands when they're doing cover songs. Sometimes they'll just completely do it their way and you don't even hear the original in there, but you could hear the original, but also, yeah, this is Closure.
Yeah, sure. We didn't want to step too far out of bounds, because at first I started to, because I play a 7 string and I play in drop A, you know, and I was like, I'm fixing to make this thing chunky,
Yeah.
you know. So, you know, I was going to make it really modern, and the more I went back and listened to it, I felt like it took away from the song than added to. And the thing of it is I really wanted Nikolai to be more showcased than just, you know, us going up there and playing hundreds of notes. So we tried to stick really close to the music that was already laid down for the song, and let her put her emotion into it, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, and that's why I really enjoyed it, you know, like just being able to sit back as a listener and just listening to the way that she sang it compared to Amy Lee. Both versions are, you know, extremely well. I grew up listening to Evanescence, so
Yeah.
you know, so it's really neat. It's neat to see it and to be able to have an opportunity to cover a song like that.
Do you know the guys from Evanescence? Do they,
I
I was gonna say, do they love
I,
your
I
version
do
of it?
not.
You don't? Okay. I was just,
I do not know it. I don't know if they have listened to it or not. So we'll see.
is it hard to get permission from other bands to use their song if you want to record?
Some are more difficult than others,
Yeah.
and I think there was one time we wanted to do a collaboration of a song. We had took one song and had halfway through went to another song and then come back around to the original song.
Hmm.
Well, once you change so much of the music, and you know, they're really iffy about that, because like, how do you split our royalties?
Oh yeah.
And you know, I think really trying to get people on the same page. As far as covering a song, most people we reached out to, you know, that have been, oh yeah, that would be neat to do and everything like that. Especially as much because you really don't make anything off of that. The royalties go back to, you know, the original artist, so it's really just free exposure. to me, is the way I see it.
No, that's how I would see it as well. And that's why I think, and I've heard stories about this in the past, where I bet you the musicians have no idea that this is going on. It's more management, not even letting them know what's going on. Like, nope, you can't have the rights to this. No, we got to do this. Because I'll give you an example. I'm not sure if you know who Henry Rollins is from Black Flag. He's a
Yes.
punk pioneer,
Hmm.
but he wanted to, the West Memphis Three were three kids that were accused of murder. So he wanted to get all these different rock stars together to do an album to raise money for their defense.
Hmm.
And every time he was making these phone calls, they're like, "Oh no, we can't do that. They can't do it. He's not interested." Then he ended up seeing some of these musicians that he was trying to get permission from in person. They're like, "What? What are you talking about? Of course, I'd love to do that. I never even heard anything about that. My management never said a word to
Right.
me." So sometimes I wonder if
Yeah.
they're left in the dark and they don't even really know. Because I'm sure, like you said, for me, if I was in a band, somebody wanted to cover my song, that's just gonna make people say, "I want to hear the original of this." And so it'll make
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
bring it back. Yeah. So I think it's a win-win situation.
Sure. Sure. I agree. I mean, because that's a lot of reason you do cover song and stuff like that. Is because, yeah, like you said, when you do cover music, people get to relate real quickly.
Hmm.
So hopefully when they look at the cover song, they listen to it and they go, oh, that's pretty interesting, or they might find it good, so they go check out the other music.
Yeah.
And that you're just using it as a tool, at that point, to try to open up to get more listeners and everything like that, because it's such a flooded market with everything going on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that. So you just that drop in the pond and you're trying to make a splash.
Exactly. Make that ripple.
That's right.
As I mentioned in the intro, your latest single, which was released last month, which right now is December, so it was November of 2024, is entitled "Criminal Minds." I love that song as well. Originally, you wanted to go with, or the band wanted to go with a different song as a single, but this Wake Up said, "No, we want Criminal Minds." Did you what was the song that you originally wanted to go with?
That was the one that Thomas Crane had already recorded for us, was "Walk in the Sun."
Okay.
And "Walk in the Sun" is more of a ballad type song. So when signing with a record company, you didn't want to come out with a ballad first on the record company. And if this makes sense, like I try to explain it to a few people in the music industry, is if Creed would have come out with "Arms Wide Open" as their first song, they would have thought Creed was nothing but a ballad band and probably wouldn't have listened to the rest of the music.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, it was beautifully done. I wish I could send you the video right now just so you could see
I would
it, because
love to
we
see
already
it.
have it back. And, but we wanted something that was a little more energetic, a little more mainstream, that was coming out for the first single that was coming out of the record deal. So what we did is we didn't have any money because we just shot the video.
Yeah.
We went and bought some GoPros and recorded a whole bunch of live stuff of us being on tour with Fozzy.
Mhm.
And, we put that out, and it's done really well. So that's why when we go back in the studio, we're going to look at the songs out of the 5 songs that we've done. Go ahead and do us another music video with Thomas Crane. And so we should be having at least, at a minimum, 2 videos next year.
Well, I love the fact it seems like there's no egos in the band from what I'm getting from you. I love the fact because sometimes you get these musicians like, no, I don't care. I wrote this song. This is going to be a popular song. I don't care. I know the music more than you do. I mean, talking to their management saying, no, I don't want that to be the single. Go with this. Trust me. You guys are very open-minded, it seems like, and say, okay, it's more high energy. I don't want to be typecast as more of a ballad band. And then also, once that song comes out, you can maybe you can release the video you already recorded later on. So that it's
Sure,
another win-win
sure.
situation.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, that's why you have people like Pepper from Wake Up Music. I mean, that's in your corner, and she's wonderful to work with. She knows what she's doing. I know how to play guitar. I don't know how to do marketing.
Yeah.
She does. So you got to be able to trust those people to do what they do. You know.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Malcolm Springer. I want to talk about him because he's the producer. Is he more of a hands-on producer like Sir George Martin was with the Beatles? Because I've heard stories and I've seen documentaries where he'll tell Paul McCartney, you know what, you did that last album, let's try this. And I heard another, or is he more hands off like Rick Rubin? Because I've heard people that worked with Rick Rubin say, the guy, he's basically hardly even a producer. He just sits there and lets you play, and he goes, "Yeah, that sounds good." So, what is Malcolm more like, Sir George Martin or Rick Rubin?
George Martin for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
The first time we recorded, we had 2 days of pre-production, you know, and then we had 4 days to record 4 songs. So we had zero amount of time,
Oh my God.
you know. And also with us having two new members, and we had wrote these 4 songs in a matter of 2 months before we recorded with Malcolm Springer. So it's almost like Malcolm had to find our sound when we didn't even know it, you know, before we could go into the studio and play it,
Yeah.
you know. So he really broke the songs down into pieces. And, you know, we had to break out a whiteboard and like, we're changing this here to here. We're only playing this 2 times. And, you know, he'll be like, this is too much stuff. You got to change this, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to be really quick and think on the fly. Luckily, this time we got 3 days pre-production and we're recording for 2 weeks. So hopefully it's going to go a little bit smoother this time.
Why'd you have to record so quickly back then?
That was the only time that we had
Oh,
allowed before McCann flew out. McCann literally played like the last notes and went and got in a car to go get on a plane and left.
oh
So
man, I
yeah.
love it.
So
Well, I want to let fans know who Malcolm Springer is. He's worked with, these are just some of the bands: Matchbox 20, Collective Soul, Full Devil Jacket, which I love that name, Isaac Hayes, Tantric, Fear Factory, Eric Clapton, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Shinedown, members of the band Saliva, Jerry Lee Lewis, Anita Baker, Boz Scaggs, and much, much more. So he definitely knows what he's doing.
oh yeah, you gotta trust the process, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also,
I think that was probably the hardest thing in recordings, like, you know, trusting that process, because as a musician, it's like this is your baby, you know. But you know that this guy isn't going to mess that up for you, and you got to allow him to do what he does. And I think it was a little harder handing over the reins to someone when it's your music. You know, it's okay if someone's like, "Hey, let's push this video back, but we're going to come out with a different one," compared to someone going, "I'm about to rearrange your whole song so it sounds good."
oh no, exactly. It's not like this is with movies, but I'll tell you why I'm telling you this story. Because do you know who William Friedkin is? He's the director of he did The Exorcist, The French Connection. But
I've seen The Exorcist.
when he did The Exorcist, he said the studio head said, you got to change this, you got to do that, and he said this movie is perfect. He goes, he just wants to hear himself talk. What we're going to do is just tell him that we changed whatever the changes he wanted, and not even cut anything. And they're like, he's going to know. Watch this. He's not. So they did nothing. Put the movie back out, and the guy's like, see, it's much better now that you listen to my recommendations. So the reason I bring that up was like, some people you'll get that just want to hear themselves talk and they want to show that they have the power, but Malcolm is just the opposite. He knows what's good for the band. He's willing to work with you, and he's not just saying it to be a tyrant. He's more saying it because he knows what's going to work for the band, and he's worked with so many legends that it's worked for them in the past. So he's going to definitely help you. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, because you know he's not going to lead you astray, like I said, you know,
Yeah.
and he wants the best because his name is on it as well.
Exactly.
You know?
And he doesn't want to look bad.
That's right.
I mentioned in the intro, this is so impressive because the current lineup's only been together since last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just have hit our year mark.
And
So,
you've done 3 tours with this lineup?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I mentioned some of the bands: Powerhouse 5000, Tantric, Sponge, Nocturnal Affair, and Fozzy. This is what I read doing my research, and I want to get your comment on this. Is somebody from the band was saying the first tour was for family and friends, the second tour was to create fans, and the third tour was when you had fans drive for hours to see you.
That's correct. That is correct. We have one guy, and we've had multiple people, but I mean, we've had people drive 8 hours to come see it.
Wow.
You know? And I mean, it's just that's phenomenal. You know. to me.
Well,
So,
no, it's phenomenal. What's so impressive is that first of all, how did you get Malcolm Springer as a producer? Because how did you get introduced to him?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think it might be Mike McCann might have messaged him.
Well, that's it. That's
Or
as easy as that.
yeah, he does it. Mike McCann, he's our research guy. He does it. He's the one that found Thomas Crane. You know, he stays on the internet 24/7, like researching and what's
Yeah.
this and who's that. And he's a big numbers guy, so you know he's our numbers cruncher. You know, and I think he had brought two names to us. It was Malcolm and somebody else, and I can't remember who it is right now. And yeah, we ended up talking to Malcolm and setting dates with him. So I think it was Mike McCann.
Okay. Well, the reason I brought that up was like that's impressive all on its own, but also to play with all these great bands like Fozzy and Tantric. How did that happen?
Well, our manager had talked to us about going out with Tantric, and luckily they had a spot open, and that fit the dates when McCann would be home. So we were blessed to jump on that, and the Fozzy stuff just Malcolm Springer
Hmm.
talked to us about going with Fozzy, you know, and that's a great thing about, you know, building these relationships is because someone introduces you to someone else, you know, and you're able to go in there and show. I think it's a big thing, and for anybody that goes into this industry, is to be timely and show professionalism and show up and do what you do. And once you're able to do that, like so many doors open for you because you know I still talk to the guitarist at Fozzy. You know, I'm friends with guys from Sponge now. You know, we text and we send each other memes and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just a whole opportunity, just meeting people and just being able to work through that process.
Oh yeah. So a lot of it is all about networking. You have to be
Yeah,
talented, get your
yeah,
foot in the door, but if you meet the right people and prove yourself to them, you're good.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
think
it's.
that was the thing with Malcolm Springer's. Like our some of our rough music was sent to him, and he was like, "I want to work with his band."
Hmm.
And if it's not good, Malcolm's not gonna work with you. You know,
Hmm. Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you just got to be able to produce something that's good and get that feedback. Even if we would have sent it to Malcolm and he could have just gave us feedback and been like, "Hey, you're here, and I need someone that's here." Just learn and grow from all that. You know.
Yeah. No, that's a great lesson for anybody, not even just bands, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'll never be able to get in touch with them." They're going to say no. It's like, how do you know if you don't even try? What's the worst they can say is no. Just send it to them. Like for me, it's getting guests. They're like, "Oh, they're never going to do a show." I said, "What's the worst they're going to say to me?" No, if they say no. But now people are like, "Yeah, I'd love to do your show." And I've gotten so many great guests
Yeah.
just by asking. And I've had people say, I used to do stand-up comedy, and I went to see a comedy show, and he was, I can't remember, it was a bigger comedian. He goes, "You know what? I'm going to do your," because I used to run my own shows. He goes, "I'm going to do your show just because you had the balls to come up and ask me." I said, "Okay." I really didn't think it was that big of a deal. I just wanted to see if he'd do my show. But he goes, "Since you asked me, yes, I will do it." And it went over great. Had the best time, and it was
That's
such a cool
awesome.
guy. So that's why that's a great lesson that other musicians or anybody in any of the entertainment world of any kind can listen to and learn from. So that's good.
Sure.
I want to talk about the task that you gave your audience on this tour. When I love this, it allowed them to help if the song shall live or die.
That's right. We got together and we wrote a song called Human, and that will be one of the ones that we record coming up in January. And you know, we threw it together in 2 days, and we said, you know what, let's just let them decide. You know, you could give us a thumbs up if you like it, or a thumbs down if you don't. You know, and you know, it went over very well. I don't think Nikolai sang the same thing in the second verse out of all 20 shows. But you know, to be able to have that feeling and get out there and just it's such a raw thing. You know, we're not even done with it really. You know, and to just get up there and to play when we know where our pieces are and stuff like that. But at the end, it's kind of like, you know, just a a little free jam or something like that, you know.
Well, I think
So
that's great. Plus,
I think
also,
it was neat.
oh yeah, no, sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think it's also great because the audience is involved with it, and they're like, "Wow, we get a chance to be a part of like if this is going to be good, then it's going to be an album. If we don't like it, it's not going to be on the album." But from what I heard, and you can
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong in this, I heard it was thumbs up, thumbs down, or the middle finger.
yeah, that's true. That's true. She gave them all three options.
So, so hopefully you didn't get many of the third option, right? You got a lot
No,
more thumbs
no,
up.
no.
That's good.
We got more thumbs up. We might have had a couple of thumbs down, but no middle fingers. So that's a win-win to me.
Now, for you personally, do you prefer writing or touring, and why?
Well, that's a tough one. Because I prefer writing. Like in my room. I have guitars everywhere. I have my own recording stuff. I just love to write music.
Mhm.
But I can say that is a hard thing to answer because with this lineup, I truly enjoy being around my bandmates.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like family. You know, we all have a very hard time coming back home. Yeah, you know, and like getting back to the normal routine of things. You know, because all of us live in different states. You know, so
Mhm.
it's not like we get to ride over and see each other or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so when we see each other, like we're just very close and very bonded. You know, we don't separate very far from each other.
Yeah. For me, I think it would be more touring because I love that feeling, especially when everybody's into the music. It's just that really gets you going,
Yeah,
gets you pumped up, and you're looking there, especially like as you mentioned earlier, people love the devil effect and they're singing the song with you, and that just used to get me so pumped up. I mean, it's fun to record,
yeah.
it's fun to put it on CD or whatever, or whoever the streaming services are now, but to actually get that the audience reaction and instant gratification.
Oh yeah, I think it. I mean, that's got to be the candles on the cake. You know, like there's so many different layers to it, but that you know, going out there and seeing people's emotion and singing it back to you, like you
Yeah.
said, you know, I mean, that's what you live for as a musician, to me. You know.
Oh yeah. And plus, unfortunately, now the way the music world is, the only way you can make money is by touring because you're not going to make any money from the streaming services. Was it a couple
That's true.
pennies each song? So, but I think I want your opinion on this. And a lot of people are down on the streaming services. I'm for it in this way because maybe I'm not paying for the music immediately when I'm listening to it on Spotify or iTunes, but when I like a band a lot, when they're in the area, I'll go see them in concert. I'll buy a T-shirt, support the band, and definitely buy something to let them know that I like them and give them some money. So, and maybe in a way, in the old days, it would be a band like if I have to pay like $15 for an album, I said I'm going to take a chance, and I don't really know these guys. But now listen to it, it's
Mm.
like wow, these guys are great. I want to learn more about them. So there's it's a good and bad thing. You're not making any money
Yeah,
initially, but maybe there's a lot more people that will listen to you and then give you a chance when you're in the area.
you're exactly right. You know, because it's kind of back and forth like that because you have such a bigger opportunity for more people to hear you.
Hmm.
So that's more people that can come to the show, and I'm the same way you are because if I like a band, I'm already going to come with more money to get some merch or something like that, you know.
Yeah,
Because I grew up in the era where you got CDs and albums and all that kind of stuff, you know. Because you waited for stuff like that, you know. You waited for years for for Pearl Jam to release a new album, so you could see the inside pictures of the studio they were in, or Eddie Vedder's handwriting and stuff like that,
yeah,
you know. So I really think, like you said, it's good. There's a lot of people that's going to hear our band because of streaming,
hmm
you know. Because you're right, they probably wouldn't go in there and pick up a CD, you know. So I'm with you. I think that it could be a little bit. I wish it was a little bit better, you know,
oh yeah.
money streaming wise. But you are correct. Like to make money is going to be touring, you know. So
Yeah. I interviewed Andrew Hagar, Sammy Hagar's son. He's a musician, and he made a comment. He said that with these streaming services like Spotify, they wanted him to release one single every month or every 2, 3 months. And he said, I don't like that because I'd rather release a full album, go on tour for a year and a half, live life, have all these new experiences, and then come out with a new album because it'll be so much better instead of trying to come up with a new single every 2 or 3 months. Do you find you have the same problem with that, or I mean, are they expecting you to do the same thing, or can you have the freedom to release your own album all at once?
Pepper is going to be doing the releases, but I know that right now, as a band, that we have decided to release just singles.
Okay.
And the reason being is because, like I said, there's so much music that comes out. Uh, the problem that a lot of people are having when you release a full album, in a couple of days, you don't see nothing of it anymore.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's what's sad is because the guy's right. I would love to release an album, go tour, have all these experiences, come back with a fresh, you know, memories, fresh thoughts, like all the things I've been through, and write about that.
Hmm.
I'm with him with that. But unfortunately, you got to release a single, let the single do its thing. You got to release another single so you stay relevant. You got to keep the numbers up. If not, if you don't have enough people watch, YouTube for X amount of time, you're not going to get paid. It's just the numbers start over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, right now to stay relevant is you got to release stuff, release stuff, release stuff. Because you release an album, it's gone within a couple of weeks because it's
Yeah.
got covered up by all the other music that's come out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're more of an ADD nation where everybody's like looking at the shiny new object. Oh, these guys are great. Oh, wait, what's that over there? And they completely forget
Yeah,
about the band they were just listening to. It's sad because there's so many great bands that would would love that because I think that they. But for you, because you seems like the band is great with writing all these songs. I mean, right now Nikolai's in Miami writing songs. Do you just write like maybe a full album's worth of songs and just hold the singles and just say, all right, we'll release this one now, then we'll release it another one 2 months from now. So you already have the song set. You don't have to keep coming up with new songs.
that is correct.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's also getting back to people that, with a short attention span, with your TikTok and all that kind of stuff. And I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, you know, they'll come out with a TikTok reel and it gets 10 million views and it's this little bitty clip of a song.
Yeah.
And then the record company's like, oh man, this guy's got 10 million views on this one thing. They'll go sign him, put him on tour. Well, nobody's coming to the tour because all they know is a 20-second clip that's
Hmm.
been played.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand why they're not coming because they're not listening to the whole rest of the album. And that's why I still think albums will be successful for musicians that want to make albums that have dedicated fan following.
Exactly.
So,
That's why I really don't like how they go by numbers because you could have somebody who's not talented at all, but they'll have 18 million followers. Well, let's sign him over the band that's extremely talented, but only has 2 million followers. So they're really more
yeah,
going by numbers instead of by talent, which is,
sure,
yeah,
sure. It's all about money.
yeah,
If you could get
exactly.
20 million people to give you a dollar compared to the 2 million,
Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, it's a completely different world, unfortunately, when it comes to that. So, how many of the
unfortunately.
older songs do you perform now?
Oh, let's see. Right now, we are performing for about 35 minutes to 45 minutes. So we have all new material. We have the four songs we done with Malcolm Springer, and we had two more that we have wrote that had not been recorded. One's called Relapse, and one was called Human.
Hmm.
Every once in a while, we would bring back a song called Bourbon Street Angels if we had more time to play it.
Hmm.
Um, but we're kind of just continuing to move forward since Nikolai's joined the band to kind of move away from the songs that male singers sang and try to get it where it's just nothing but her and all the new stuff. What I would like to do is we talked about releasing singles and stuff like that. When we go back in with Malcolm, we'll have 5 more songs, so that'll give us a total of 9 songs. And I would love to release, do it as singles and everything else, but then come back and do like a vinyl of all the songs together, or do an album drop with all the songs together, and maybe like a couple more that's like some B sides, like some of the stuff in the studio, or maybe a song that hasn't come out or something like that. So
I love that idea. Like personally, always loved vinyl the best, and I'm so glad it's coming back. I think
me
it's
too.
funny. Back in the '70s, vinyl was maybe like that was first it was expensive, then CDs came out, and then vinyl you can get for $5. Now it's the exact opposite. CDs you could buy for a five for a penny, and now the vinyl is $25. But the reason I like the
That's right.
vinyl is that you open it up, you get the liner notes, all the different things on the inside cover. It was so much more of a like so much more of a presentation than just like, okay, here you go, and this is
It
like with
is.
the CD. So I'm so glad
Right.
vinyl is making a comeback, and I think it's funny because people complain, or not really anymore, but they used to complain about, oh, the sound isn't as good, and now people are going, oh, I love the sound of the old Christmas and the stylus and the way it
Yeah.
sounded and and how great how like the clicks and everything. People just appreciate the things that they used to complain about, which I think is funny.
That's right. That's right. Because I have a vinyl collection, and I love it. I mean, but I also remember, changing out my grandparents' records and stuff. They used to have it looked like a little bitty dresser that you could mash down, and it would pop up, and it just stored all your vinyls, and it had a little record player in
Yeah.
there and the speakers. So, it's a lot of good memories. And I have those vinyls now.
Mhm.
Hopefully, I get to leave all of my vinyls to my kids and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's a cool collector's thing. And like I said, like when you get something from somebody and get to see all the notes and everything like that, and just the smell of a new vinyl, it's like the smell of a new car.
Oh, yep. No, I completely agree with you on that. I'm so glad that it's making a comeback. I want to go back to your touring. Most bands do, and I'm sure that you're not the exception. Do you have any tour horror stories? You must have a couple.
Oh yeah, our bus broke down in Arizona for 2 days, and our bus is jet black, and we didn't have no AC,
No.
and I did not think we were going to make it out of that place. Truly, I think that's probably the worst thing that we had experienced. Really, was just and with Nicola, and we got a tour manager named Kat, and she both of them just toughed it out like it was nothing to it. She was like, "You want us to go get some water while y'all work on the bus?" So, but met some good people, to take care of us while we're out there, and it was a terrible experience. I never want to experience again. I can say that.
Well, didn't you have another one where it's like the tire shredded itself as well? Something happened with the
Oh yeah,
tire?
it was like in a few days of all this stuff happening, and there was so much that happened, kind of like in the beginning of the first tour. It's kind of like God wanted to see if we really wanted to
Yeah.
play music or not.
Mm.
So, the doorbells broke down. We busted a tire on the trailer. Like if it could go wrong, it pretty much did go wrong.
Yeah.
So like some kind of fraudulent account stuff on one of the cards. So they shut the business card down, and now you're trying to find ways to pay for gas.
Oh.
And you're just like, okay, that's fun. You know.
Well, I think I was listening to an interview with the drummer, and I think he said that was the moment that this was meant to be, and this is all we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, we're too stubborn to quit. There is just no quitting. So,
well, that's what it's all about too. So many people probably would have made it if they just stuck it out instead of like giving up way too soon. Just keep, and I love the fact
yeah,
that you guys still work and you also find time to do this pretty much full time as well. So if people, another great example, I love the fact that, the different things we're talking about. A lot of bands can learn from you, from your attitude. It's like if you really want it bad enough, you can make it happen, and you're doing it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like music, and I don't think it's something I can give up on.
Hmm.
I think I'm called to play music.
Yeah.
So even if I were to sell everything tomorrow, like I don't even know if I could sit there and just not go get a guitar.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I have a question about the labels because do they encourage growth? I'm tell you what I mean. Like sometimes you get these bands, these labels will pick the flavor of the month, and then as soon as that's done, they'll drop all these bands and then get the new flavor of the month. You don't see a lot of bands like the Beatles, starting off with "Love Me Do," and they're able to grow over the years and come out with something like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So does your label encourage you to grow the band and try new things?
Yes, yes, they do.
I love that.
Uh, she is very much on board of helping build us. She understands her role in the music industry is like a stepping stone.
Hmm.
Like she is not one of those people that are trying to pull the rug out from under you. Of course, she needs to make money. That's her business, and we need to make money so we can make music. So we all understand the balance of helping each other. And she really gives us free reign. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't sit there and go to the studio and go, "Oh, that's garbage," or "That's bad," or like
Yeah.
you got to do this or you got to do that. She lets us write the music for how we want to write the music.
Hmm.
So uh, if we write it at the end of the day and she's like, I think you could do better, we'll go back in there and write some more stuff. But she doesn't really, just be like, no, 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 But she pushes us. She pushes us to be better people and to do things better.
I
So
love that. Yeah, that's great. It's great that you have a label that supports you fully. And I think that the labels that I was referring to, I don't think they give the audience enough credit. I think the audience wouldn't mind see the band mature, try something different, and I think they'd be more open-minded. But some people are some of the higher executives who know nothing about the music business are like, oh no, this is popular right now. We got to try something different now because it's not as popular as it was 3 years ago.
mm,
So I love the fact that you have somebody who supports you fully and said, yeah, try this because I think the fans want to hear you mature. They want to hear you try something, that
sure.
grow as a musician. So that's great.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite bands are, like Tool and Deftones and stuff like that, and all their albums, they sound different.
Yep.
I think Tool musically is just growing, 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 because they're exceptional musicians. But I mean, Deftones to me, uh, you either liked the album or you didn't. And there
Mhm.
was a few other albums that I didn't even like.
Yeah.
But I feel like as musicians and as people, they were growing and finding their own way, and they like stuff. And I like
Exactly.
bands like that, and like Thrice, that just have they come out with a album called the Alchemy Index, and it was like four albums in one, and it has anything from it from blues to like metal. You know,
Yeah.
really like sometimes you're just going through that, and you're trying to find yourself because I'm sure it's going to be different when you're thrown out there into the world, and some people experience success differently and stuff like that, and they're trying to find like their own individual self,
No,
Yeah.
exactly. I agree with you 1,000%, and I think that it's good to let the musician do that because maybe if one fails, they'll try. All right, let's try this. It's just, I think the bottom line
Mm,
is they will eventually find themselves if they're given a chance, and then they're going to come out with some great music that everybody's going to love.
sure.
They just need that moment to say, okay, because if they just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, they're going to be basically an autopilot, and even the fans are going to
Yeah.
get sick of it. So I think it's
Yeah.
good to
Yeah.
try something different.
You hear bands that sound the same from the beginning to the end of their career.
Yep.
Or one of the problems that I don't like is one band will be successful and they got a new sound, and you're like, that's awesome. Here's someone new. This is someone that's diverse. And they'll sign 30 other bands that sound like them, and I don't even know who the original band was anymore because I
Exactly.
just feel the same. Kind
Yep.
of like, but luckily, like growing up in the grunge era, like, yeah, they signed everybody that was playing grunge music,
Yep.
but they all sounded different
Yep.
and they all had something different to say.
Hmm.
But now it's kind of watered down. They're like, okay, we're going to start, putting in backing tracks, and now everybody needs backing tracks, and everybody needs sub bass, and everybody's got to have this or have that. And it's, you might as well just go watch the same show. And
Hmm.
that's how I feel about it. And that's how I feel about the cover bands because a lot of them you see, like, they just play the same thing. It's like, you're going to be a cover band. Like, one be a 90s cover band and one be this and one be that. But it's like you said, you go to these bars and they want to hear,
Yep.
you know, they want to hear Free Bird and
Yeah.
Wonderful Tonight and everything else.
Yep. They just want to sell some alcohol. That's all they care about. They care less about
That's
the
it.
music for the most part, these bar owners. And I've seen it happen. Another thing that I don't like, and I'm not sure what your opinion is, and I'll get it, but I don't like these quote unquote karaoke reality shows. And I'll tell you what I mean. Like American Idol and America's Got Talent. I'll tell you why, because I think that it robs the musician of learning what it's like to play in small clubs and crowd 5, 6 band members in a van
Hmm.
and learn life and learn. Like they get on stage for the first time and they're in front of 1,000 people and like they really don't even know what to do. And I have when I was doing stand-up comedy, a friend of mine was on America's Got Talent and he did very well in the beginning, and then after he got kicked off the show, he imploded and he just didn't know what to do. It's like he was basically went from open micer to playing Radio City Music Hall, and he didn't have
Yeah.
that full experience. So that's why I think that these shows rob the musician of going struggling, like they always say, like a 20-year overnight success. I think those are the bands that like learn the most and are the best musicians because they've been through all that. They know what it takes to be great instead of just opening up the door and saying, all right, you guys, you're going on tour.
Yeah. Right, right. Because I mean, that experience, I mean, it's worth its weight in gold,
Hmm.
because if you're not there and knowing how to deal with situations of your equipment breaking down or to deal with silence or anything like that, if stuff malfunctions
Hmm.
or, to even deal with people or to get them to, sometimes you'll go places and you can see it on their face, like that people want to come out, they want to have a good time, but they're so reserved and they're just waiting for the first person to break the ice,
Yeah.
or to be understanding, to know that, you're just like them, or to be able to just read people, read situations, uh, yeah, all that,
Yeah.
you just got to go through it. I mean, it can't be taught.
Yeah. And I think another thing that imagine I always say this to people. Imagine Bob Dylan going on the show and start singing, they're like, give it up, you're never gonna have a career in music. Or Tom Petty, they're like, what? Yeah, sorry, you might want
Yeah,
to try something else. So these shows I think sometimes kill the creativity of musicians that might have made it, but they go on there, their confidence is destroyed and they just give it up when if they just did their own thing
yeah,
and played the clubs and maybe they would have made it, maybe they wouldn't, but just like we talked about, don't give up on your dream.
that's it. That's it. Like to me, I'm already successful,
Hmm.
and any more success, it's just my cup gets fuller and fuller. You know, I'm just grateful for the opportunities that I've had, and the opportunities that have come our way, and the opportunities that will come our way.
Yeah.
So
Well, I can tell from your attitude, you and the rest of the band create your own opportunities, which is great. It's like
yeah,
the drummer's doing all the research online, contacting these Grammy award-winning producers, getting in contact with these bands. It's just so plus, I mean, being talented is one thing, but you also have all these other things that you do to create these opportunities, which is awesome.
sure, sure. And you gotta work it as a team and spread it out and figure out what everybody's good at and
Oh
go
yeah.
with it.
Yep. Well, for me too, I want to talk about this. I want your opinion. I think there's a huge difference between great musician and great performer. Some have the best of both worlds. Some musicians are great performers,
Sure.
but for you, do you have a difference? Like an example, I think like a good performer would be like somebody brought up Prince or somebody brought up Michael Jackson, and then a great musician would be.
Mm.
So, do you have a favorite musician and a favorite performer?
Ooh, favorite musician and favorite performer. I would have to say Adam Jones from Tool is probably my favorite musician.
Okay.
Uh, extremely talented guy. He's older, but even when he was younger, I mean, he didn't do anything, no backflips, like he wouldn't run around stage or anything like that. So, it was expected he was going to play there and play every note correctly.
Yeah.
And excellent performer. I would have to say Ryan Martini from Mudvayne.
Ah. Okay.
So I just that guy gets me crunk just watching him. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question for you regarding where you play. Do you prefer the small, intimate clubs or arenas or stadiums? And I know, like, most people would say, "Oh, well, I love the stadiums, obviously, because that means I made it." But I've heard other musicians say, "You know what? I love the intimacy of the clubs. You're one-on-one with the audience." So, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I would rather play small venue.
Hmm.
I do. The intimacy of it. I think growing up and playing small venues, I played those venues where you've had three people in front of you. That experience time. But just to pack out everybody in there and everybody's uh, in a little bitty room. I played places, that's clubs, as you would call it, or a bar, or whatever. It's as big as a house. And you got 300 people shoved in this thing, and like everybody's, tripping on everybody, and you're in front of them, and they're in front of you. I don't know. I just love the experience of being right there with the people. Uh, and you're right. I mean, the big places pay the bills probably a little bit better,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like the experience of being with the people. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I can tell you, like the last big concert I saw was at Fenway Park, and it was Paul McCartney. He put on a great show. I mean, he just turned 80 years old at the time when I saw him. He was still hilarious. He was dancing around as much as he could, but he was just singing. He sang in key, I think. For other people were saying, well, the backup musicians helped him. I was like, I don't care if they helped him or not. He still sounded great. He still put on a great show. Played 35 songs. Can you see me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I think my in ears tried to die real quick. You're good. Go ahead.
So were you able to hear what I was saying? What I was saying was the
I
last.
heard I heard that you saw Paul McCartney and then it cut off after that.
All right, what I was saying was I saw Paul McCartney in Fenway Park, and he put on a great show, played 35 songs. He was just turned 80. He sounded great, but still, it was such a huge stadium, and it was so far away. I was watching it on a screen. It was almost like to myself, well, I could just go and watch it on YouTube and see the same show. I love
Yeah.
myself going to the small clubs, seeing the band up close, and it seems like for me personally, the musicians get more into it because they have more of a back and forth and rapport with the audience. So I agree with you on
Sure.
that as well.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you. Like when it's too big, I mean, I might as well just, sit outside the stadium and listen to it and drink
Yeah.
beer for free.
And another thing you brought up too is I've had bands that I played with in the past, and they were so worried about sounding perfect and not messing up. I personally like the band that has fun on stage, and if
Yeah.
they mess up, they make a joke about it, and the audience loves it, and the audience is getting into it. So I like excellent musicians. I think you have to sound great, but also I think that's where I get the performer slash musician. I like to see a band have fun. If they mess up a little bit and don't sound a little bit more raw, who cares? It's still to me it's fun. Like, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I say if you're standing there, uh, and you're just being a musician, to me, is you should play every note right because you're standing there.
Yeah.
If you're performing and you're running around and you're doing all the different stuff and interacting with the crowd and stuff like that, I'm not going to be surprised if you miss a few notes.
Yeah, I
you
mean, no,
know?
no, they're not going to care as long as they're having fun. If I want to
Yeah,
hear the band note for note, I can stay home and listen to the
yeah,
CD, listen to the album, stream it, listen to it in my car, and it's like, oh yeah, it sounds just like it did live. So I
yeah.
love the fact that you love. So I've seen some videos, and you guys definitely have some fun on stage. I can see that.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a dream collaboration?
A dream collaboration. Ooh, for me, I guess it would probably be Thrice, Deftones, and Tool together.
Oh, wow, wow. I think that's going to happen. I can see that happen. I'm no psychic, but I think that's going to be happening in the future. I don't know. You're going to make this happen.
Yeah, we can hope. At least one at a time,
Oh,
You never
exactly. Yeah,
know.
you got to
At
spread the
once.
love.
There you go.
What advice would you give to up and coming musicians?
You know, just be true to yourself. Um, be a person of your word,
Hmm.
and be responsible. Put in the hard work. Put in the work when you don't want to. Uh, realize that not everybody can carry yourself with the same integrity that you do,
Mhm.
but in the end, you will always shine through, and you can be proud of yourself. If you're proud of your accomplishments, I mean, nobody can take that away from
Best advice ever. Thank you very much. I had a great time interviewing you and talking to you. Before we go, is there anything that we didn't discuss that you want to go over?
you. If you need to find any of our stuff, you can find it at officialclosure.com, and that's closure with a Z.
Mhm.
And be on the lookout for new tour dates that'll be coming up this next year.
So where can they? So hey, I just wanted to actually one last thing because you
Yeah.
mentioned that you are endorsed by a lot of people. So let me find that list of some of the places that you. Wait, where was? Of course, now I'm not going to find it, but oh, here it is.
All right.
So I got it. WB Gear, Intune
Mhm.
GP, was it Red Cymbals, BASN, Railhammer Pickups, SIT Strings, SJC Drums, and Scorpion Percussion.
Yes.
So how did they all
Bless.
approach you and say, we want to endorse you?
I reached out to Railhammer, and because the Railhammer pickups are in my Reverend guitars, and I said, "Hey, I love these things. You
Yeah.
know, I just wanted to tell you I love them."
Yeah.
And they reached back out and they said, "Well, we'd love to sponsor you." Then I think really most of your sponsorship just comes with interacting and saying, this is what we're doing. This gear's been good for us. BASN contacted us and has just been a phenomenal company to work with. They got some the best in ears that I've ever had. I've been playing with these for the last pair I had for 2 years and never had a problem with them. They come out with a new set that I just got, and probably the clearest things that I've ever heard for the price. So we've been really blessed with all that. And our drummer, same thing. Like when he just reaches out and he goes, "Hey, I love your cymbal. They sound great. They'll like." He said, "Like everything, comment on everything."
I love it.
And
Again,
that's all it takes is time. And they're like, "Hey, man, you're always commenting on our stuff. You want to try out some stuff?" Sure. you know?
no, it goes right back to just ask and see what happens. The
Yeah.
worst thing they're going to say is no. And you guys have been blessed where a lot of people you ask, like, I'd love to work with you. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
You know what?
Very blessed.
Once again, I got to thank Sean O'Donnell for setting up this interview. I love the band. I'm so glad that she introduced me to you, and you definitely have a new fan. So
Well, we're grateful for you. And we wish you all the best, my friend. We'll see you soon.
yeah, I'm in Connecticut. So best thing about Connecticut is that I'm so close to Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, New York. So hopefully I'm going to be checking you guys out. Hopefully you're in the area sometime soon. I'd love to see you live. Love to meet you.
Yeah. We'd love to meet you.
All right. Well, Matthew, it's great having you on the show, and hopefully you can come back again sometime.
Will do, my friend.
All right. That wraps up the latest episode of the Claws Corner. A huge thanks goes out to rhythm guitar player Matthew Russell of the band Clozure for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to be a guest on my show. Thank you very much, Matthew. I also need to thank editor extraordinaire John Bristol of the award-winning Elmwood Productions for always doing a superb job editing this show each and every week and making it available to all on YouTube. I am also extremely grateful to Rob Bull and Al Coles for all they do to put my show on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, as well as a local cable station in Connecticut. And lastly, but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for always tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Come on, suckers! All of a sudden I hear, brim, brim.
What's a diaphragm again?
Ha! We caught one.
They're supposed to be weird.
Oh, yeah, no. If you say so.
I've always wanted to be in a movie.
Waiting around for autumn, waiting around for autumn. I was watching the TV, I was watching the TV, yeah. Waiting around for winter, waiting around for winter. I was watching the TV, I was watching the
From the frenetic mind of author Rich Sear. 5 terrifying short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror, available on Amazon and